Hmm. See if I haven't written anything down. Let's try that down. As I gained awareness that I was a human being, individual, and in control, I became an instrument of my family and environment. And there really is no understanding between right and wrong, or different ways to go about anything. Everything was as serious as the occupants of the time acknowledged it to be, which I found the serious things my family were directed by were surface level problems that arose from their ignorance. It didn't matter if it was intentional or not. It is the circumstance I was given, and to accept this seemed impossible at times. But the void of the unknown remained in my curiosity. It's not your fault, but it is your life. A storm is approaching us, and it's gaining magnitude. It's multiplying. It's gaining a magnificent sort of feel to it. Look, and I think if I'm gonna describe what I'm feeling currently and the current state of my thoughts is we're moving into a time, and we are in a time where truth is not truth anymore. Anything can be blurred, anything can be altered. The reason for some people's existence is very different from another's. And I think as we gain a sort of momentum from this storm, we must gain control of our habits. We must be intentional with who we're surrounding ourselves with. We must be considerate of that, very, very much so. And what I noticed that is when when the individual really wants to take control of their existence, they don't want to talk about drama. They don't want to. They don't want to participate in a lot of things. Their participation of the one who is sort of sees themselves as an individual apart from the crowd. They tend to just they tend to start creating in different ways or in expressing themselves in different formats. But I think what the screen does is that exactly it creates a sort of individual, and it's weird to think that because you generalize always when you're talking about a group of people. But I think when something mirrors ourselves so in such a formatted way, we become sort of fixated on the aesthetic or the look or the feel. of how it's formatted, how we're being handed our specific identity, or how we're identifying with ourselves. And for me, it's been a long road of gaining. How do I say it? It's been a long road of like contradictions and like hypocrisy within myself. Like staring at my past and existing in nostalgia, being tempted to go back to places that I probably don't belong, but you begin to miss those feelings of when you were that person in those past places. Why I bring that up is I think the sort of metaphorical storm I'm talking about is it's approaching, but it's also in areas, right? It's not always at the forefront of our existence, but it's happening in different pockets of time, different situations. Um, but I think I believe that people will be fixated and almost entirely dependent upon the structure of the narrative that surrounds them. It'll be very important, even more important now, or even more important than the sort of religious fanatics that I think exist. Um, or the people who are obsessed with like superhero movies and whatnot, and the Hollywood culture of mass producing some sort of conformity of thought and direction of will. What's interesting to me is we'll have these sort of stories or movies take place, and they can easily be observed in such a multitude of ways. Um, and I think that's very interesting with art now. I think art in general, art and expression has such a power over us that I think we need to really harness on a local level. Not this redistribution of, not redistribution, but not this distribution of, I don't know what I would call it. I suppose not this distribution of a large sort of model to cater towards a public, like going to I think there will be a more forced, localized version of this. And the local community, I think, will inevitably grow into a very, you could say performative, but it's almost going to be very intentional, almost medieval. I believe. But what we tend to forget is that we're tribal. We're very tribal in our. I need to blow my nose. But we're very tribal. They always will be. And we can't necessarily outrun this tribal behavior, even if we wanted to. Or stereotypes we fall into. It's going to be very important that we. It's going to be very important that we find ourselves within people or with people and not alone. Because when you create sort of a lone behavior, such as I am now, I think the true danger of being alone to the system, to people, to tribes and groups like this is that you become independent. And I suppose being independent in this world is a luxury. And I think we're going out of this luxurious state of being independent into a more tribal form of expression. And it's not necessarily being forced down our throats, it's just the natural occurrence because in the West we've forgotten this side. We've forgotten this sort of tribalistic, animalistic, primitive side of us because we're too embedded in language. And we see language as the end all be all as we use our eyes and perceive the world. I think to survive any storm is to not sit in it. It's not to just wait it out. It's to embrace it. It's to walk through it. I want to tell a story real quick. Me and my buddies went camping one time, and we made a soup. And I remember checking the weather that morning and that day. There was like a 1% chance of rain that night, and I was like, "Fuck it, we have a tarp. Worst comes to worst, we're under a tarp, you know." So the night progressed. We had our soup. We were sleeping, and then the storm approached. We would sounded a lot bigger. Let's just say that. And we were like, "Oh fuck!" So we like packed everything up, got everything going, and then as soon as we were kind of getting ready and everything's up, which was great timing, arguably one of the fucking craziest storms happened that I've ever experienced outside. Keep in mind, we're in the middle of a cornfield in this little like oasis of um, a little oasis in the middle of trees and sort of just big trees being surrounded by all the corn. And so we're forced to just like move, you know. We leave the area and then it's fucking storming bad. It starts raining. The wind was crazy. And I'm not a big guy, you know. My friends are a little bigger than me, but we had to walk through the cornfield to get out. And these corn stalks were towering over me. And it was raining so hard. The rain was going off the corn. And of course, my ass was leading the way out, leading the charge out. And I just will never forget that feeling of being in the middle of a storm. It felt like there's a tornado on top of us as we were walking through the cornfield. And the only feeling I could describe is complete wetness. We were soaked to the fucking brim. And weirdly, it was one of my most memorable and cherished experiences with these people. And I think why I bring this up is, the, you know, the people you're with, the people you end up being with at certain times, they, they teach you things. Everything can be learned from. Everything can be looked at differently. And, time has passed since those events, and I'm sure that event changed, my two buddies as well as it changed me. But I think why I'm bringing this up is you gotta embrace it. You have to embrace the moment. You have to embrace the situation. Walk through the storm. Feel the wind. Feel the rain. Feel all this emotion, and then take color at different times when it's necessary. And something I'm kind of dealing with now is I want to find more people who are very resonant. You know, I found, I've met some older people that I just don't feel like, I don't know, I just don't feel like I always resonate with, but I don't know. I want to force myself out of this this feeling of independency, because we're not gonna have the luxury of being independent, being expressionless, being just cogs in the machine. We won't have that luxury anymore. But as we have that luxury now, we must use it. We must use it in such an intentional way of collecting artifacts and collecting information and writing and reading and painting and singing and embracing these skills and learning new habits. I'm very bored with stimulation. I'm not bored with art. I'm bored with stimulation. My cat's been going crazy for the past few days. She's fine. She has plenty to do. She has other cats to play with. She's going crazy. Maybe she's in heat or something. I don't know, but I feel a sense of, I don't know. I feel happy, but I feel sad. I feel I feel driven. That's a good feeling. I don't feel like I've had that feeling in a while. I've been on the dark night of the soul, if you will. I've been figuring out what I want to do, what I want to say. I've been doing what I want to do, right? Been writing and reading a shit ton. I like writing and reading. I like painting. I like music. I like dialogue. I like it all. To me, though, I can never find people who are able to speak properly. And properly, I mean, what I mean by properly is, you know, I have a hard time finding people in person who speak about things that I care about. You know, when I meet new people, I speak about things I care about, right? Or I try to. But I find, you know, when the interaction takes place nowadays, people aren't talking about things they care about. They're talking about things they should care about, like the collective culture of what's happening. And they're always like focused on opinions and memes, you know, jokes. I'm not saying you losing your. I'm not saying humor is bad, but to me, right now, I don't find a place where I have the luxury of being. I don't have the luxury of constantly being in a state of a joke. It's much more of a. I don't know. It's much more intentional than that. I don't know. Maybe this resonates. Maybe this makes sense. It's one of those days. Carry on.